It can be extremely difficult getting the younger generations in our business to show up focused and being productive, staying on task, not getting distracted. How the heck in 2025 and beyond, it's almost 26, how do we get the youth within our business, our company, our organization? How do we get these people who are young to freaking just stay focused, stay off the technology? Well, it is possible. And let me share today with you a couple tips I have learned from managing restaurants, from being around high school kids at restaurants, from traveling the country, different businesses, white collar, blue collar. I've learned a lot since I began working in 2012 as a dishwasher, working my way up through different companies and businesses, restaurants. I've seen a lot of different teams, and let me share with you what can really work in today's day and age. All right, so what is up, my friend? My name is Trevor. I am a coach and consultant here in Austin, Texas, and I enjoy sharing about these kind of topics. So definitely subscribe to my channel if you didn't already, so you see more content from me. And let me first say this: in 2025, almost 2026 and beyond, things are changing, right? And we cannot manage people in this day and age, okay? Because it's just not going to work. People hate being managed. They hate being babysat and looked over, and it's just we have to trust our people enough to give them some freedom, which I'll get to in a second. But we have to understand that, I like to think of business, and whether it was working at a restaurant, working at a white collar firm, whatever the business is, it's like a sport, right? You have a team, you have a goal, everyone's on the same team, or for the most part, everyone's kind of rallying behind a purpose and a goal. And if we can see business in a sports context, it can really help. So what I've learned, especially with different working in different restaurants and different roles I've had over the years, is that we can't manage people, but we can manage systems, right? We have systems that our people are carrying out, and we can manage the systems, but we can't manage people because people are just so complicated, right? We have emotions, we have moods and energy. It's just people are not robots. People are emotional beings, and it's very difficult. People are getting very sensitive these days, so it's really just we have to have a clear distinction about managing systems and managing people. We can manage systems. We can have a hard time managing people because people hate being micromanaged, right? So think of like a system is your play. You think of football. I grew up playing ice hockey, baseball, soccer. These in sports you have plays, and the coach will call the play, and the players will go and you know carry out that play. So think of it the same thing in business. We can have these plays or these systems, and we can show our team, show our people how to play the game in those systems, right? So we can't manage people, we can manage systems, and we can lead people, we can develop people. And this is a key distinction that a lot of managers I have seen don't understand, right? We can shape our people through systems, and it's a much easier way to influence them and have control and have not control, but it's a much easier way to get results within our business if we can have systems that we use to then shape our people. If that makes sense. So, quick little story. I one of the times I really got some great experience with managing. I hate saying managing. With being a manager, I guess I would say with younger employees was back in 2021. So this is right after COVID, when COVID was kind of, I guess, in the middle of COVID, it was kind of getting taken care of. But I was at a restaurant in my hometown, and I was like a server lead. I wasn't even a manager, but I basically was a manager. I was doing a lot of the manager duties, and I was responsible for a lot of like what was happening. And what was happening was we had a lot of these high school kids that were the bussers, right? So at a restaurant, the bussers will come and clean the tables off. They'll take away the plates and everything, the drinks. They'll clean the tables off. They'll wipe them down. So you have the next guest can come in and sit down. So what was happening was the bussers were 16, 17 years old, 15 years old. They're high school. Most of them were boys, high school guys, And what was happening was they were just not really being very, very focused. They weren't being very focused. That we had guests waiting to come in, and we had tables where they needed to be cleaned off, and they were just kind of taking their time. They were, they're in the kitchen on their phones, scrolling and horsing around. And it got to the point where it was hurting us because we had this line of people and they couldn't sit down yet because the tables were not cleaned yet. And it was just causing a logjam in the restaurant. And it was actually affecting, a little bit of sales, and because we couldn't maximize the restaurant. So anyway, one day what I did was I took all the busters aside. I took maybe about 5 of them away from everybody else, and we had a quick little meeting. And I remember there's a whiteboard on the wall, and I had a marker, I had a little whiteboard, and what I said was to them, I was like, "Listen, guys." Remember, they're all in high school, and I'm like 24 at this time, 25, and they're all about 17, 18. I said, "Listen, guys, why are we here? Why are we all here at this restaurant?" And they're saying, we're here to make money. We're here to be bussers, to clean tables off. And I said, yeah, that's great. I said, listen, why are we really here? And I wanted them to go deeper, and they kind of just said, we're here just to help the restaurant, blah, blah. I said, all right, guys, listen, we are here to give these guests a good experience, to give them a good time. And what's really cool is that the better experience we give these guests, the more money all of us make. So it's a win-win, right? And what I said to them was, now listen, you guys have a huge, important role in this restaurant because you guys are in charge of clearing tables off, freeing up space for the guests to come in. And I said, the faster you guys can work, the more tables we can turn through, the more sales go up, and then you guys make more money because they actually made money off of a percentage of the sales, of the food sales, I believe it was. So essentially, the more sales that comes in, the more money these busters were to make. And I said one more thing. I said, listen, guys, you guys are important. We need you guys, and also, listen, like you guys aren't going to want to do this for your whole life, right? I mean, you're not here to make a career out of being a busser, right? And they all said, yeah. I understood that these guys were here at the restaurant, but they had other goals. They had goals. Maybe they want to be a doctor, want to be an athlete, they want to be a lawyer, like whatever. These people were at the restaurant, but that wasn't their long-term goal. That wasn't their career path. That was just where they're at now because they're in high school and they're figuring life out still. So my point is that I understood their point of view, and I tried just to tell them, because I did care about them. I said, listen, guys, like you guys are important. We need you here, and let's go have some fun. Let's have a good time and have some fun and make some money. And then boom, we all left the room, back to work. And that night, man, these buses were flying around. They were cleaning tables off like that. They were having fun. We're laughing. We're cracking jokes. And that's how it should be. I think that's how it should be. You should be having fun. You should be keeping it light. And you should be telling your people like why they're important, why they matter. Show them the big picture. Show them how their role directly affects the bottom line result, whether it's your company or whatever it is. Show them how their role matters. And that's really important to these kids these days. These kids want to know, they want to see how they're actually helping. And they want to have a purpose. They want to know their value. They want to know they're actually making a difference within the business. So that was fun. That kind of taught me a lot about motivating people. And I just, I wasn't all macho. I just took them aside, 3, 4, 5 minutes, did some, whiteboard quick thing, gave them a purpose, showed them their importance to the business, and it went a long way. So my first point is that the more we care about our people, they're going to in turn care about us, care about the business. If we don't care about them, why would they care about us? Like if we don't care about our people, why would they give a crap about our business? Like it makes no sense. And it's got to be genuine. Get to know our people. What are their goals in life? What is their personal, professional goals? Where do they want to be in 3, 4, 5 years? Do you even know what your people want? Do you even know your personal details of your people? Do you know what they're into, what their hobbies are? These things go a long way, trust me. All right, so getting to know your people, getting to know what they're into, what they care about, and caring about them in general will help them to, in turn, try harder, play harder at your business. All right, that was number one. Number two, I've seen way too many managers or leaders when times get tough, whether it's at a restaurant and it's getting very stressful, it's getting very busy, there's not much room for error, or if it's in a white collar business, if it's in an office setting. Here's the thing, we really have to, as leaders, we have to learn how to manage our emotions. Now, I'm not saying to hide our emotions, to not feel them, to push them away. No, we have to integrate them. We have to understand that our emotions are part of us being human. It's part of the human experience, and we got to learn how to feel them, how to sit with them, how to process them. Stuff we're not taught about in school, are we? No, we're not. Why is that? Well, because people don't want us to be, self-sufficient, to be regulated, to be calm, to be powerful people. But my point is that I've seen a lot of managers who they they lose their square, they lose their footing, they become ungrounded. And from what I've seen, there's no faster way to lose the respect of your people, of your team, especially these young employees. There's no faster way to lose respect from your team than to be very angry and to let people see you like very ungrounded. And I've seen this a lot at restaurants. I've seen managers, GMs who over maybe something pretty relatively small, a guest complains, a guest argues with them, they get very flustered, they get very angry, they get very defensive, and this is ego, right? So we have to understand that all of us have an ego, right? The ego's job is to protect ourselves, right? All of our egos wants to keep us safe. And if we don't feel safe, we feel threatened, we feel like someone's trying to overstep us and take away our power, like this is where the ego can lash out and we can become angry, like I said, defensive. And you don't want people to see you like this, ideally, right? You want to, as much as possible, you want to be calm and collected in with your team around you. You don't want to show them how ungrounded you can be, right? If you're angry, try to go away from people and let it out, like maybe by yourself. But I've seen a lot of managers who get very angry. I can tell they feel very defensive and they feel very flustered, and that's really not a good look. You're going to lose respect from your people. You know, people want to follow people who can lead them better than they can lead themselves. They want people to look up to learn from, and just to watch and to learn just by watching like a leader, right? And if you have managers or leaders at your company who are easily triggered, who can't be more regulated and can't calm themselves down and just breathe and just be more grounded, be more centered, that's a big problem. Because the younger people these days, the younger kids these days, so to speak, they are very, very, very smart, very intuitive, and they're not going to trust you or follow you and play hard for you, right? Back to the sports analogy, like a business, like playing hard is like working hard or just being focused. They're not going to play hard for you if you're always being triggered and scattered and you're not being, you can't focus, you can't, be calm. These millennials, these whatever they are, Gen Z, they want people who are grounded, who are present, who are calm, and who can lead them better than they can lead themselves. That's why I'm really big on emotional intelligence and doing the inner work, mindfulness practices, journaling. These are all ways that we can begin to become more aware of our ego side and just keep it in check, right? Pretty simple. Well, it's not simple, but it's pretty basic. The last one is, we need to think of it like this. When you have, let's say you see a farm, right? You have a farm, you have maybe some horses, maybe some cows. There's usually a fence, right? You don't just have the horses and cows roam, they don't just roam the earth without any fence, because you got to have a fence to keep them contained, right? But you also don't see horses and cows where they have this little box and they're stuck and they can't move, or they can't like stretch and move around. So they have a fence that's like the boundary, and the animals are free to roam within that fence. That is how I see the best way to manage these younger people, is give them boundaries and then give them freedom. They have to know their limits. They have to know what's expected, whether it's metrics, whether it's time frames for scheduling, or when they should be in, when they should be out, clock in, clock out. Whatever the boundary is, it could be performance based or just time based, or just what you expect from them, how they look, their attire. All these things are boundaries, and they're really just communicated. I don't want to say rules, but it's like the game rules, right? If business is like a sport, sports have these game rules, and same for our business. We should have these clear guidelines for our people so they know what's expected, no surprises, nothing out of the blue that's going to like shock them. They know how to play the game, right? You play hockey, you play football, basketball, there's penalties, there's offside, there's too many men, there's all these different things, part of the rules of the game. Well, same for our business. And what I found is that if we can just communicate with these younger employees, hey guys, here's what's expected. I want you to show up here. I want you guys can leave here. I want you while you're here to do this, this, and this, blah, 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 blah. Give them the ground rules and then give them freedom, right? Give them the rules and then back off. Let them roam freely. Let them be on their feet. Like, don't handhold as much. Just let them kind of go for it. And then you're there for support, right? Let them play the game. Sit back, just observe, here and there. Let them roam around. And that is the best management style. You tell them what to expect, you let them go and play, and you see what happens. You adjust, you pivot. The next day, you adjust, you pivot. Next week, you adjust, you pivot. You have a meeting, you adjust. But these kids these days need freedom, right? They need freedom. They need to know that they have some sorts of, that they can just do what they want to do. And there might be more than one way to do it, right? You might lay out what's expected of them, whether it's results or time or whatever is kind of like the game rules. And then they might find out new ways to do it. They might be creative and they might come up with new strategies, new ways, new methods. And give them the freedom, give them the chance to fail, give them the chance to be creative, to try new things, right? But we have to communicate consciously and powerfully with them. We can't just say good luck and then we get mad at them for not behaving a certain way. Well, just tell them what you expect, let them run with it, and see what happens. All right, so 3 main things. Care about your people, the young workers at your business, care about them, show an interest in their lives, get to know them, right? Show them how their job's important, show them the result of their work. This will go a long way. Number 2, keep your ego in check as a manager. There's no faster way to lose trust and respect from your team than to have your ego blow up and get all angry and get all defensive. That is the worst way to go about it. And number 3, give these young workers boundaries and freedom. Let them try, let them fail, give them the rope, give them the leeway to really just experiment, and acknowledge them too. Acknowledge them for their successes, for even their failures. Hey, I love how you tried that, it didn't work, let's try something new tomorrow. Just giving them that acknowledgement and giving them that freedom goes a long way. All right, so thanks for watching. My name is Trevor. I will see you in the next video. Take care, my friend. Much love.